Mary Shelley, born Mary Wollstonecraft Godwin on August 30, 1797, is best known as the author of Frankenstein, or The Modern Prometheus, a novel that has become a cornerstone of Gothic literature and science fiction. However, her life was as compelling and dramatic as the stories she crafted, marked by personal tragedy, intellectual brilliance, and a relentless pursuit of creative expression. Early life and family background. Mary Shelley was born in London to two radical intellectuals of their time, William Godwin, a political philosopher and novelist, and Mary Wollstonecraft, a pioneering feminist and author of A Vindication of the Rights of Woman. Tragically, Mary's mother died just 10 days after her birth due to complications from childbirth. This loss deeply affected Mary's life, leaving her with a legacy of a strong, independent mother she never knew but profoundly admired through her writings. Raised in an intellectually stimulating environment, Mary grew up surrounded by her father's literary friends and political radicals. William Godwin's progressive ideas on education and society heavily influenced Mary's upbringing, encouraging her to think freely and critically from a young age. She was educated at home and later attended various informal schools, gaining a strong foundation in literature, science, history, and philosophy. Youth and romance with Percy Bysshe Shelley. Mary's teenage years were marked by both intellectual growth and personal rebellion. At the age of 16, she met the poet Percy Bysshe Shelley, a charismatic but controversial figure who was already married. Their romance began clandestinely and sparked scandal, leading Mary to leave her family home in 1814 to elope with Percy to France. This act severed her ties with her father for some time, but it also ignited her personal and literary development. The young couple faced poverty and social ostracism but remained devoted to their literary and philosophical ideals. They traveled through Europe, engaging with other romantic writers and thinkers. During this period, Mary experienced profound loss. Her first child with Percy died shortly after birth, and she faced other hardships, including miscarriages and difficult pregnancies. The birth of Frankenstein. One of the most pivotal moments in Mary Shelley's life occurred in the summer of 1816, often called the Year Without a Summer, due to the climatic effects of a volcanic eruption. Mary, Percy, and their friend Lord Byron stayed at a villa near Lake Geneva in Switzerland, confined indoors by incessant rain. To pass the time, Byron suggested that each guest write a ghost story. Inspired by discussions on science, electricity, and the nature of life, Mary conceived the idea of Frankenstein. She wrote the novel when she was only 18, blending Gothic horror with early science fiction themes. The story of Victor Frankenstein, a scientist who creates life but faces dire consequences, explored profound questions about human ambition, ethics, and the dangers of unchecked scientific experimentation. Frankenstein was published anonymously in 1818 when Mary was just 20 years old, and it immediately attracted attention. Over time, the book became a classic, with Mary recognized as a groundbreaking female author who challenged literary and societal norms. Later life, loss, and literary career. Mary's life continued to be marked by intense personal tragedy. In 1822, Percy Bysshe Shelley drowned in a sailing accident off the coast of Italy. Mary, devastated by the loss, returned to England with their surviving children. Despite her grief, she dedicated herself to preserving Percy's literary legacy and raising their son. Mary Shelley's literary career extended well beyond Frankenstein. She wrote several other novels, including Valperga, 1823, The Last Man, 1826, a pioneering post-apocalyptic novel, and Lodore, 1835. She also edited and published Percy Shelley's works and engaged in various translations and essays. Her writings often reflected her experiences with loss, isolation, and the struggle for female independence. Mary was an early advocate for women's rights, inspired by her mother's feminist ideals and her own challenges as a woman writer in a male-dominated literary world. Intellectual legacy and influence. Mary Shelley's influence extends far beyond her lifetime. Frankenstein opened the door to a new genre that combined horror with scientific inquiry, anticipating concerns about technology and ethics that remain relevant today. Her portrayal of the monster has been interpreted in myriad ways, symbolizing everything from social alienation to the consequences of playing God. In addition to Frankenstein, her other works explored themes of identity, society, and the human condition, contributing significantly to Romantic and early Victorian literature. Mary's letters and journals provide insight into her intellectual world and personal struggles, revealing a woman of remarkable resilience and insight. Final years and death. Mary Shelley spent her final years in England, living a quieter life devoted to her family and writing. She married again in 1839 to Sir Percy Florence Shelley, Percy Bysshe Shelley's cousin, but the relationship was more companionate than romantic. Mary Shelley died on February 1, 1851, at the age of 53, after suffering from a brain tumour. She was buried in St. Peter's Churchyard in Bournemouth, England, near the grave of her parents. Her death marked the end of a life filled with creative brilliance, profound loss, and enduring literary achievement. Conclusion. Mary Shelley's life was a tapestry of innovation, tragedy, and courage. From the loss of her mother and her own experiences with death and hardship to the creation of one of the most iconic novels in English literature, she defied the constraints of her time. Her work continues to inspire countless writers, artists, and thinkers, reminding us of the power of imagination and the complex relationship between humanity and science. Her story is not just that of a great author but of a woman who carved her own path through adversity, leaving a legacy that has shaped literature and culture for over 2 centuries.